This film is brought to you by New York Life and its dedicated agents, proud sponsors of the NFL's team highlight films. New York Life, the company you keep.
Road to the Super Bowl is right here for the Bengals against the Los Angeles Raiders. And if they beat the Raiders, of course, it would be Buffalo next week.
Everybody look each other in the eye and make one commitment to yourself that you're all going to get it done. Everybody.
The Cincinnati Bengals ended their season the same way that they started it, with a die-hard commitment that had made them champions of the AFC Central Division.
They think they got a cakewalk. Come on, it happens.
And though battered and bruised from their championship season, the Bengals battled tenaciously with the favored Raiders. And by seizing every opportunity, they forced a fourth-quarter showdown.
Boomer's in the shotgun. A man comes in free, but Boomer gets away from him. Looks into the end zone.
Yes.
Touchdown to Jennings.
Stanford Jennings' gutsy grab and the point after tied the score at 10. But with the clock ticking away, the Raiders held the final hand.
And Schrader is going to throw this time. He is back there, looks, lobs it down the far sideline. It is caught, 5-yard line, Horton, touchdown.
But not even the disappointment of that fourth-quarter loss could diminish the tremendous gains made by the Bengals during the 1990 season.
The handoff goes to JB. Wiggles his way straight down to the 45 to the 40. Down to the 30. He's going to go. 20, 15, yes. 5, touchdown. James Brooks.
The team that Paul Brown built had proved once again why they were champions. They had one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL, as well as an opportunistic defense that's headed toward a dominating future.
Now he's starting to run. Now he's going to run. He'll come out. He gets he's safe.
In 1990, the Cincinnati Bengals came roaring back. From the very first kickoff on opening day, the Bengals had to prove that they could come roaring back. Facing an aggressive and slippery Jets offense, Cincinnati entered the third quarter trailing by a touchdown. It was a challenge that Sam Wyche's squad would have to face more than once in the coming weeks.
Round to the left side, and Boomer goes back to throw. Down in the corner of the end zone, touchdown pass from Esiason to Brown, and the extra point now will tie up this game.
New York scored again on their next possession, so All-Pro David Fulcher stepped forward with a touchdown-saving tackle that ignited the Bengal squad. And following a TD pass to James Brooks, it was that pumped-up defense and David Fulcher again that added the final spark to the comeback celebration.
The Jets would love to get out of here, and the Bengals don't want to let him. Brown's going to go back and throw. He's way back in the end zone. Safeties. Yeah! There by David Fulcher.
A pair of clutch fourth-quarter field goals by place kicker Jim Breach pulled the Bengals ahead for good. And with a final flourish, Fulcher's last-second end-zone interception sealed the Jets' fate. The Bengals' comeback march continued in the second week of the season, as the San Diego Chargers surged to a 13-0 lead before Cincinnati's offense could find its footing.
Boomer play action fake is back to throw. Looks over the corner of the end zone. Brooks. Oh, great catch. Touchdown. Eddie Brown held on. Touchdown. Very wide on both sides, and Tolliver's going to go back and throw. A quick shot. It may be intercepted. Picked up.
up. Coming out to the 10, to the 15, to the 20-yard line, out to the 25, and to the 30-yard line.
The team's never-say-die attitude paid off. The defense held the Chargers scoreless in the second half. And Eddie Brown's 10 receptions, 2 for touchdowns, fell just 1 shy of the team record.
But back to throws Tolliver, and he has a lot of time. A lot of time goes down the middle, is caught out at the 45-yard line. The ball is loose. I think Phillips has recovered it. He has.
The late-game fumble recovery by Lewis Billups iced that second comeback victory, where the Bengals came roaring back in a salute to their own gritty determination. The next week, every element of Cincinnati's game plan came together as they soared to an early lead against the New England Patriots.
Fires down to Eddie Brown, who catches it 5, touchdown!
In one of the most balanced attacks of the season, the defense forced 5 turnovers, while the offense scored 5 times on their first 6 possessions. Even Lee Johnson, who's better known as one of the AFC's best punters, tossed a tricky sleight-of-hand strike.
Oh, they try a... Yes. Here's a touchdown easily.
Yes. A big field goal.
Yeah, a quick flip from Lee Johnson to Rod Holman, who was coming around.
The sack attack and scoring frenzy continued in this 41-7 triumph. And as Jim Breach broke the NFL record for scoring in consecutive games, Cincinnati celebrated its most decisive victory of the season. The squad continued to hang together even after Seattle snapped their unbeaten streak. So against the Rams, Boomer Esiason proved why he's one of the premier quarterbacks in the NFL, setting a new club record with 490 yards passing. Rodney Holman, Tim McGee, and James Brooks also hit triple-digit receiving and rushing numbers in one of the most exciting offensive duels of the season.
Little flip out in the flat. It comes to Brooks. He's in the 10, 5, touchdown. Boomer just dumped the ball over him, and Anthony Munoz was down there to clear out the last hurdle. And JB gets his second touchdown pass of the afternoon.
Spearheaded by one of the best offensive lines in the game, the Bengals took a 21-0 lead. But just when Cincinnati thought their comeback march was behind them, the Rams returned fire in a seesaw scoring battle that was deadlocked by the end of regulation.
Boomer back quickly to throw again. Everybody looks disjointed. Boomer still looking to Harold Green. Has it down at the 5-yard line, in for the touchdown.
The Rams threatened twice in overtime, and twice the defense held. Then, Jim Breach stepped into the breach to show that the Bengals could come roaring back.
The ball is put down. There's the kick. It is long enough, and so Jimmy Breach hits his second one in an overtime, 44 yards. And the Bengals go to 4-1 and have at least a 2-game lead in this division.
This is it, hey. This is a fun time now. That's what it's about. Right, that's what it's about now. Go, group. All day, baby, let's get out. Let's go, let's go.
The fun times continued for Sam Wyche and the Bengals squad in Week 7. And with the yearly Battle of Ohio at stake, Cincinnati took on the Browns at a dead-ahead run, rushing for more than 230 yards.
We're going to run this ball right down their throat. We may throw a couple in here, but we're going to jam it right down their throat. Run, 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 run!
Cuts into the 20, the 15, the 10, 5, touchdown! James Brooks runs 29 yards for a touchdown. The Bengals go out on top now, 13-3.
Bury those suckers now. Bury them. You attack them right in their face. Right in their face.
On the ground and in the air, the aggressive defense also kept the Browns from breaking out.
Come on, defense. Make a play. Make a play.
Ozar goes back there to throw it. Goes down, fires, intercepted by Zander at the 50 to the 45, runs it to the 40 and is upended at the 38.
Good job. Woo! How you doing, old timer? You like this game? Good money, too.
First-year Bengal Mike Barber and returning hero Ickey Woods kept up the scoring pressure.
Handoff is Ickey. He's got it. Touchdown, Ickey Woods.
Way to work, way to work, way to work.
With a balanced attack of aggressive offense and street-smart defense, Cincinnati put the Browns away.
61 Yogi.
And certainly one of the key reasons that the Bengals did come roaring back was their innovative offense, overseen by Sam Weish, an acknowledged master of the game. And it was triggered on the field by the now you see it, now you don't magic of Boomer Esiason. Boomer has it all: a great throwing arm, scrambling ability, and the kind of take-charge leadership that makes him one of the league's marquee players. At the other end of the Bengals' passing game was the sure hands of Eddie Brown, who leads the active roster in all-time receiving yards, Rodney Holman, who earned a third straight trip to the Pro Bowl, and Tim McGee, this year's leader in receiving yardage. And supported by tight ends Eric Caddis and Jim Riggs, as well as wide receivers Mike Barber, Lynn James, and reserve quarterback Eric Wilhelm, the Bengals' air attack will remain high-flying in the 90s. But much of this season's success came on the ground, and leading that charge was James Brooks, the classic running back. During his 10th year in the NFL, JB not only continued to break team records in single-game performance, but also became the Bengals' all-time leading rusher, as well as only the 19th player in the history of the league to run for more than 7,000 yards. James Brooks is in a class by himself. The resurgent running attack was also sparked by the return of Ickey Woods. And even though he missed the first 6 weeks of the season, Ickey's fighting spirit brought him back among the leaders in scoring by year's end. Rookie running back Harold Green also made tremendous strides and finished second in rushing yardage, while Eric Ball, Stanford Jennings, and Craig Taylor continued as scoring threats on the ground and in the air. In front of them all stood the offensive line: veterans Brian Blados, Bruce Kozerski, Ken Moyer, Bruce Reimers, and Joe Walter, along with reserves Paul Jaton, Kirk Scrafford, Mike Brennan, and Eric Krigler, left defenders in their wake. And they were all led by Anthony Munoz, who set an unmatched Bengals standard as a Pro Bowler for his 10th straight year. A decade of greatness from one of the game's greats. But there were also rewards for the defense when Tim Krumrie received the George Halas Trophy for an inspirational return from a Super Bowl injury. And as the heart and soul of the defensive line, Krumrie continued to play with passion and fire. Also making an impact were hard-nosed Skip McClendon, the number 2 sackmaster Natu Tua Tagovailoa. There was also talented veteran Jason Buck, and rising star David Grant, who finished the season with a dominating performance. The Bengals' linebacking corps also kept up the pressure with their own mixture of veterans and newcomers. Leon White, the squad's quiet storm, rolled out the big plays, while Kevin Walker hit the top 3 in defensive stats. Carl Zander, the unit's signal caller, continued to punish opponents, while Ed Brady and Leo Barker shone on special teams. And first-round pick James Francis had a spectacular debut. He led the team in defense, had the second most sacks of any rookie in the AFC, and shared all rookie team honors with Mitchell Price. Price, a 9th-round diamond in the rough, sparkled as both a reserve cornerback and punt returner. And against Seattle, he ran back 66 yards for a touchdown. New secondary backups Rod Jones and Carl Carter added speed to the Bengals' final line of defense. But it was the backfield starters that shared the key to many of the Bengals' victories, led by 3-time Pro Bowler David Fulcher. Ricky Dixon, Lewis Billups, Eric Thomas, and Barney Bussey cashed in on opportunities all season long as the Bengals came roaring back. And in Week 11, that aggressive, opportunistic defense had a chance to show that they could make the difference between victory and defeat and grab mid-season control of the AFC Central.
match right now.
The Steelers threatened, but the defense held.
Fake holding the ball, running with it. Nobody sees him and going down and getting in for the touchdown. No, the Bengals say he hit the ground before he got there. No touchdown. He went up in the air, did the cartwheel, and came down about 3 inches from the goal line.
While Barney Bussey's TD-saving tackle and the stingy defense kept Pittsburgh scoreless in the first 3 quarters, the Bengals' running game hit full throttle. James Brooks piled up 105 yards, while Ickey Woods and Craig Taylor punched in a pair of touchdowns.
Worley with a handoff to Lips on a reverse. Running wide at the 30, and he'll just get back to the 25. Loses the ball. Bengals pick it up. There goes Bussey. Down to the 40. Nobody is going to get him. It's going to be a touchdown.
Together, the defense and offense had set the Bengals on the road to the AFC Central Crown. But the road to the division championship was a tough one in many ways. There were losses, including a heartbreaking overtime decision against San Francisco. And the team also had to say goodbye to 2 members of the Bengal family. Bill Tiger Johnson stepped down as tight end coach after 43 years in professional football, 3 of them as head coach of the team. And Phil Samp, the voice of the Bengals from the very beginning of the franchise, also retired. So, as a going-away gift, the squad treated them to some of the best games of the season, including a battle with Pittsburgh for the 2nd time in 3 weeks.
There's Eddie Brown. He grabs it, gets away from man. 15, 10, down to the 5, touchdown.
The offense was explosive in the first half.
Right side, the handoff will go to James Brooks. He cuts to the 5 down, touchdown. Yes, sir.
And in a replay of 2 weeks before, the young and the ruthless defenders stymied the Steelers as James Francis sacked Bubby Brister for a safety. And Mitchell Price ended Pittsburgh's final hopes in this fiercely fought contest.
Now he throws down far to the sidelines, and it is intercepted down at the 6-yard line.
The Bengals were now truly on the road to the division title. But in Week 16, in order to reach their final goal, they had to get past the Houston Oilers, the NFL's #1 offense and 5th best rushing defense. The challenge was great, but the solution was simple. Send in James Brooks.
Running wide to the right, cuts into the 45 to the 40, down to the 35 to 30, down to sidelines 15 to the 10, 5, and he's bumped out of bounds just short of the goal line at the 2.
Brooks not only set up scoring opportunities for others, but also galloped 56 yards for a touchdown and set a club record of 201 yards rushing in a single game. Defensive pressure broke the back of the famed Oiler offense, and Barney Bussey's grab ended Warren Moon's streak of 105 passes without an interception. By the 4th quarter, the romp had become a rout.
On the flat, all alone, Caddis, 10-5, touchdown!
With twin touchdowns, hometown hero Eric Caddis completed the high-scoring Cincinnati assault.
Caddis, 6!
David Fulcher's late-game interception was the final master stroke that pulled the Bengals into a 2nd-place Central Division tie with Houston. If they both won the next week, Cincinnati would clinch the title. There was no stopping the team that had come roaring back.
Going to the playoffs, baby! Bengals get fired up!
With a division title at stake, even former Bengal great Ken Anderson knew what needed to be done.
Let's take the interception right now. He's back there to throw it. Looking, goes over towards the intercept. What a call! An easy touchdown by Francis. James Francis picked off that flat pass. He put it up above his head because he knew there was nobody anywhere near him. And Francis has about 8 guys on top of him down in the end zone.
Celebrating on the other side of the ball was Boomer Esiason, who broke the 3,000-yard passing mark for his 6th consecutive season.
Down in the end zone, there's Holman, touchdown!
After the Browns tied the game, a final quarter 48-yard strike to Eric Ball preserved the hard-fought victory. The Bengals were division champs again and headed back to the playoffs. So all of Cincinnati celebrated with a now familiar chant. With a brutal and balanced attack, the aggressive defense and finely tuned offense came out smoking against the Oilers. And with big play burst from both units, the Bengals scored 7 times in their first 8 possessions.
Looks, fires it way upfield. Intercepted it by Fulcher. He's to the 50, down to the 45, to the 40, the 35, still on his feet at the 30, all the way down to the 20 and out of bounds at about the 16-yard line.
Let's keep it up now. Let's keep it up. Maintain that intensity now. Let's go.
The intensity was red hot as Boomer Esiason caught fire and led the team in rushing. The team that Paul Brown built and Sam Weiss guided had crossed the threshold to playoff perfection as they buried Houston 41-14. They were a hard-nosed and innovative offense. They were a gutsy and opportunistic defense. And in 1990, the Cincinnati Bengals came roaring back.